February 24th, 2010 started like any other day at SeaWorld, Florida. Visitors gathered for the Dine with Shamu experience, eating lunch as they watched one of the park's most beloved trainers, Brancheau, performing alongside the massive Orca, Tilikum. It was meant to be a feel-good show, smiles, applause, magic. But what happened next turned that magic into horror. In the blink of an eye, the cheerful atmosphere shattered. Dawn was at the edge of the pool, gently stroking Tilikum's head, something she'd done countless times before. But this time, something changed. Chaos erupted. Guests screamed, staff scrambled. People who were there say they'll never forget what they saw. Some say Tilikum suddenly grabbed her. Others recall confusion, panic, and the desperate sounds of whistles and alarms. No one saw it coming. What really happened in those moments remains a blur for many, but one thing is certain. What started as a routine show ended in tragedy, one that would forever change SeaWorld and shock the world. Some say it was her ponytail, others say her arm, but in an instant, she was gone. In front of a stunned crowd, the Orca pulled Dawn into the water. Gasps turned into screams as the massive whale thrashed in the pool, dragging her beneath the surface. For 45 long minutes, the attack continued. People watched, frozen, helpless, horrified. What made Tilikum snap? Why wouldn't he let her go? And where did the footage of that day disappear to? To understand what really happened, we need to go back to the beginning of Brancheau's story. She fell in love with orcas as a kid during a trip to Orlando. From that moment on, she had one goal: become a SeaWorld trainer. And she made it happen. Dawn trained hard, physically and mentally. She ran, biked, lifted weights, whatever it took to work with the giants of the sea. She wasn't just a trainer, she was the face of the Shamu show, and a big reason for SeaWorld's success. But Dawn knew the truth behind the smiles. She spoke openly about the dangers of her job, and the dangers were very real. There had already been dozens of close calls between trainers and orcas. And Tilikum? He had a past. Dawn was the third person linked to a fatal encounter with him. Tilikum's story started with heartbreak. At just 2 years old, he was torn from his mother in the cold waters of Iceland. He was sent to Sealand of the Pacific in Canada, a place that promised care but delivered cruelty. There, he was beaten down physically and emotionally. Food was used to control him. Older female orcas bullied and bit him constantly. His name, Tilikum, meant friendly. But his life was anything but performing 8 shows a day, every day, slowly broke him. Experts had warned for years that Tilikum was dangerous, stressed, isolated, and pushed beyond his limits. He wasn't just a killer whale, he was a transient orca, a type known for aggressive, stealthy hunting. After years of captivity and forced performances, it was only a matter of time before something went wrong. The first tragedy happened in 1991. Kelty Byrne, a 21-year-old marine biology student, slipped and fell into the pool at Sealand. She tried to surface, but Tilikum dragged her down. Witnesses said he grabbed her while the other orcas blocked any chance of rescue. She drowned while staff watched, helpless. That incident shut Sealand down for good. Tilikum was moved to SeaWorld in Orlando the next year. But the violence didn't stop there. In 1999, Tilikum claimed his second victim. Daniel Dukes, a 27-year-old man, snuck into SeaWorld after hours and ended up in Tilikum's tank. The next morning, his lifeless body was found draped across the orca's back, bruised, battered, and mutilated. SeaWorld called it an accidental drowning, but the incident raised serious questions about what was really going on behind the scenes. Animal rights groups sounded the alarm. Tilikum had been kept in isolation, sometimes for hours or even days. He was attacked by other orcas. He was bored, stressed, and psychologically breaking down. Marine mammal expert Rick O'Barry once said, "Keeping Tilikum in captivity was like forcing a human to live in a bathroom for life." And then came Brancheau. She was experienced, passionate, and deeply loved the animals she worked with. She had built a strong bond with Tilikum, and some even believed he cared for her in return. That's what made the attack so shocking. On a calm February day in 2010, during a routine session, Tilikum snapped. He pulled Dawn into the water and thrashed her violently. The injuries were catastrophic. What happened in those moments is still debated, but one question haunted everyone. Why did he hold on to her body for so long? Some say it was an act of rebellion. Others believe it was years of frustration finally boiling over. After a lifetime of shows, punishment, and isolation, the whale snapped. The autopsy confirmed what few could imagine. Dawn Brancheau drowned and suffered severe trauma. Her ribs and sternum were broken, her elbow and knee dislocated, and her back covered in bruises. Her death was violent and devastating. At first, SeaWorld tried to shift the blame. They claimed Dawn slipped and fell, that her ponytail got too close to Tilikum. But witnesses and former trainers pushed back hard. "That's not what happened," one said, and they knew it. After the incident, investigators from OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, got access to the internal footage and photos. News outlets requested them too, but Dawn's family fought to keep them private out of respect. What happened in that pool would stay locked away. Still, the damage was done. SeaWorld scrambled to make changes. Trainers were no longer allowed in the water with orcas. Safety protocols were overhauled. But it raised a bigger question. Should these whales be in captivity at all? OSHA found a disturbing pattern. Over the previous 20 years, SeaWorld had recorded around 100 incidents involving aggression or warning signs. In 12 cases, trainers were seriously hurt, or worse. Dawn's death wasn't an isolated tragedy. It was a symptom of a deeper problem. Then came Blackfish. The documentary pulled back the curtain on the reality of orca captivity. It told Tilikum's story and showed the emotional toll of confinement. The public was shocked. Protests erupted. Celebrities canceled SeaWorld appearances. Attendance dropped. Revenue plummeted. The pressure worked. In 2016, SeaWorld announced it would end its orca breeding program. The whales they had would be the last. But for many, it was too little, too late. Dawn Brancheau loved her job. She loved the animals, but her story, and Tilikum's, became a powerful reminder. No matter how close we get, wild animals are still wild. And when we try to control them, there's always a cost.